I'm David Anderson. I'm a member of the Earth Care Task Force at Del Mar Presbyterian Church. Del Mar Presbyterian Church has been designated an Earth Care congregation by the Presbyterian Church USA because of a number of activities that we engage in across all areas of our ministry, which attempt to reflect things that we believe in terms of environmental sustainability moving forward on this planet. I'd like to report to you today on one such initiative that occurred over the summer. Started with a book group, and this is a book that we read together, the Earth Care Task Force, Climate Church, Climate World, How People of Faith Must Work for Change. It was a discussion led by our Reverend Larry Geist. And actually, we had an opportunity come up right away to actually work for change. It occurred when the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation released this report. It's called Establishing a Value of Carbon, Guidelines for Use by State Agencies. And there was a call for public participation. So some members of our task force stuck with it. We studied this issue, and we came to the conclusion that it was a very important issue. And we actually wrote a statement, a petition that was to come from Del Mar Presbyterian Church to DEC. And I'll read you an extract of that. We, the undersigned, represent one of many faith-based communities in New York State, and we believe that setting the correct discount rate for computing the social cost of carbon is a profoundly important moral and ethical choice. So we came out to believe that this seemingly technical issue was actually at its base a moral issue. Moving on, we said, we believe that the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, applies to future generations. Therefore, when evaluating the trade-off utility between the present and future generations for the purpose of assessing damages from greenhouse gas emissions, 0 is the morally and ethically correct discount rate to use to begin computing the social cost of carbon. Wow, that's a mouthful. So let's unpack this a little more. When we were doing our research, we discovered that economists have a bit of a debate going on about what discount rate should be. There is no universally agreed upon discount rate. And for purposes of simplicity, I think there's two primary schools. Some economists say that if, for example, if I were to drive my car, take my car on a 30-mile trip, that's primarily a financial set of decisions. I bought my car. I could have taken the money that I bought my car with, and I could have put it in the bank and took the interest from that money in the bank and bought bus tickets. General Motors could have taken the money that they got from me, and they could have evaluated making electric vehicles instead of more gas vehicles. New York State took the tax that I paid on my gasoline, and they could have invested in rapid transit as opposed to more highways. Exxon took the money that they got from me to buy a gallon of gasoline, and they could have developed clean fuel instead of finding more fossil fuel, and so it goes. And they would say that in all of these financial flows, a discount rate that takes into account the alternative costs of funds, around 7%, is appropriate. And they are correct for financial flows. It gets more complicated because there's another school of economists who say, well, okay, that's well and good. But at the base of it, when David drives his car for 25 miles, David gets, and he's made all those financial decisions, David gets the benefit of 25 miles riding in his car, but David also puts, a couple pounds of carbon into the atmosphere, which hangs around the atmosphere for several hundred years. And that does bad things to future people, future generations, unborn generations. Maybe it will contribute to the emphysema or respiratory disease of someone in the future. Or maybe my carbon will contribute to a tsunami somewhere, which will wipe out a village or cause economic damage. And these economists say this is purely a transfer of benefit. David gets a benefit now, somebody gets a disbenefit sometime in the future, and there is an economic transfer going on here, but at the core of it, there is just a utility transfer between me and future generations, and these cannot be discounted. I have to take full responsibility for my actions, And this is, their argument is on kind of moral and ethical grounds. And this is the argument that we agreed with. Final comment here. This is important because these damages are not insignificant. There was an appendix to that report that I just showed you, issued by another state agency, the New York State Agents Energy Research and Development Association, which estimates that the future damage over the next several hundred years of my gallon of gasoline is about $20. I mean, that's a lot. And if we use an ethical argument, when New York State agencies are evaluating permits for emission controls, they should take into account those full costs over the next 100 years, and they shouldn't discount them at all. And this is the decision that we agreed with. So if this petition shows up in your mailbox, I hope you will read it, pay attention to it, and sign on as we did. Oh, by the way, our session acted on this, and this is a position that has been approved by session. Thank you.